Thanks, Neil. We'll continue to follow this throughout the hour. Welcome to everyone. Welcome everyone to the big story. I'm Heather Nauert.
And I'm John Gibson, live at Fox News World headquarters. We begin with breaking news tonight, continuing Fox News coverage of that ongoing standoff out of New Hampshire that involves Democratic presidential candidate Hillary Clinton. Here's what's happening. A man claiming to have a bomb strapped around his chest walked into one of the senator's campaign offices in Rochester, New Hampshire this afternoon, and then took at least 2 hostages.
Both hostages have been released. Clinton was not there. She's in Virginia today and has canceled all of her events for the rest of the day. Federal law enforcement agents on the scene say that the suspect has flares in his possession and is still holed up inside the building. So the question is, what does it take to negotiate with this kind of suspect? With us now is Fox News contributor and former NYPD detective Bo Dietl, also former FBI hostage negotiator Danny Coulson. Danny, let me start with you. How do you begin to negotiate with someone, especially someone who appears to be disturbed?
Well, first thing you have to do is establish a communication channel, what they've done. They got a cell phone in there. That's a good thing. It also sounds like they got a hardwire phone in there, which is a better thing. The negotiator will try to slow this thing down because right now this individual is running on high adrenaline, which means irrational thought. And if they can slow it down, talk to him, tell him this is not a hopeless situation, try to find out what he wants. We'll give you some sort of a forum here. You can voice your grievances and just make him think that there's a reason to live for another day. And it's a process of establishing a personal relationship between these negotiators. And today, police negotiators are very well trained and they get a lot of experience. And you try to become the guy's friend. You talk him like you're his friend, that you can help him and make it a non-adversarial thing. And sometimes you have to be very patient. They rant, they rage, they may curse you, they'll tell you all their problems, and you have to listen to that and act like you're just there to help them. You focus your attention on him and not the hostages,
well,
at least.
Danny, we heard Carl Cameron report that a woman who thought it might be her husband walked onto the scene. I imagine that she's someone that negotiators would want to speak with to glean as much information about his personality as possible and use that, possibly even put her on the phone with him?
No, not to put her on the phone with him. Absolutely not. You would interview her, and you would get as much information as you could from her. But she may be the source of some of his problems. They're divorced, they're estranged. That's not a good idea to put the former wife on the phone with the subject. That's a really bad idea. But to interview them, another thing too we didn't talk about.
Well,
is that
Danny, what kind of information would she give them that would be of help that they could then use directly with him?
Well, the first thing they're trying to find out here is, does he have a bomb? Does he have any experience? Has she ever seen him with bomb paraphernalia, anything like that? And just get some ideas of what his hinky buttons are. She knows a lot about his disorder, I'm sure, and she can give him some real good insight into what may set him off or what may make him feel better. She'd be a very valuable person to talk to, but not put her on the phone.
Danny, is this hostage situation being handled any differently from what we have heard, what has been reported to us, what we can see on the screen, than it would be if it were not a political campaign headquarters, even for a small town, if it were not Hillary Clinton's campaign headquarters?
No. You have SOPs, you have procedures. Human life is important. Hostages' lives are important. It doesn't make any difference if it's associated with a political process or not. I'm sure Bo would agree. The police do this the same way. If it's Hillary or it's somebody we've never heard of, they would treat it exactly the same way.
Danny, you know, as Bo said, we have information, anecdotal information from witnesses that he went into a hardware store and bought a couple of flares and wrapped them around his chest. Okay, a flare is a flare. But what about the possibility Bo discussed, that, oops, they're not flares, they're 2 sticks of dynamite, and it really is a bomb?
Well, Bo made a really good point, is that you think you know, but you don't know. Unless you had someone that was with him, an accomplice that walked in with him and walked out, you don't know that. And you're not about to risk the life of a police officer or a hostage on the assumption that these are road flares. And you know what? If we had to bet $1,000 today, I would bet you they're road flares. I think Bo would probably agree they're road flares. But you know, you can't risk the life of a policeman for that. You need to know. And Bo said it, and I think he's absolutely right. This guy's going to walk out of there sooner or later, and why take the risk? The lives of policemen are very valuable. The lives of hostages are very valuable. And there's no rush here. What are we going to rush in to do? There's just wait him out, pretty soon these negotiators will do their job and he'll walk out of there. I feel quite certain of that.
This man, clearly, if it is this man, as his ex-wife believes it is, if he's really not well, how do you convince him? How do you stay patient and convince him to do something? How do you be rational with him?
Well, one thing you have to understand, and what we're seeing on TV here today is the tip of the iceberg. I will promise you that the FBI is involved in this, other agencies are involved in it, and I guarantee you they have a psychiatrist on the phone now with the hostage negotiation team to tell them the best way to deal with this guy, what kind of time frame we could be expected to deal with here. And there's a lot of things going on with some pretty experienced people, medical people that deal with these people every day, and they're advising these negotiators about what steps to take, what to offer him. He may get hungry. He may smoke cigarettes. Hopefully he does. He'll want cigarettes. So there's a lot of things like that you can use. And like I said, we're seeing the tip of the iceberg. Thank
Danny
you.
Coulson. Danny, I know you're going to stand by. Bo Dietl, thanks to you. Thanks to both of you. We'll continue to follow the breaking news out of New Hampshire. At least 3 hostages freed from Hillary Clinton's campaign offices in Rochester. The suspect, a diagnosed paranoid schizophrenic. We're headed back live to the scene in a few minutes. Now, we have reports fairly authoritative from our Carl Cameron on the ground there that relatives of this man, Troy Stanley, say that it's not a bomb. There are 2 road flares strapped to him, but police are taking no chances. He has now released, they believe, all the hostages, though there is still some chatter. There may be a couple of hostages still in the building. They have a phone into him and are talking to him and are going to try to talk him out. But this is an ongoing situation now in its 5th, approaching 6th hour, and still we do not have confirmation that Troy Stanley has given up and that the hostage crisis is over. Danny Coulson is still with us in Fort Worth, Texas, along with Heather and I as we try to sort through the story as fast as we can. Danny, before we went to the break, I don't think we had a chance to ask you the significance of the guy, Troy Stanley, who was apparently diagnosed as a paranoid schizophrenic, had been ordered to take lithium and hasn't been taking lithium. Now, when one of this kind of person isn't taking lithium, what does a law enforcement authority person expect in the way of behavior out of him?
Erratic behavior, no reason, no reasonableness. But still, these guys are trained to deal with this, and as we mentioned a little earlier, there are psychiatrists, I promise you, on the phone that deal with patients like this who don't take their meds, and they're giving them keys to work on. As silly as it sounds, sometimes people who smoke cigarettes, when they run out of cigarettes, they'll almost give up anything to get a cigarette. That sounds kind of trite. But I've actually had situations where people in a hostage situation gave up if we'd give them a pack of cigarettes. There are a lot of little tricks to these things, and they train for these types of scenarios, and we're seeing only a small portion of it. But all the information that we have, remember, they have about 10 times as much as we do. So it's a very difficult situation, but these negotiators they're well trained, and I really do believe the guy will walk out.